Testing 1, 2, 3. Warning, the following video may contain adult language and themes. Viewer discretion is strongly advised. If you have a problem with this, stop playing this video now. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You had your chance to back out. No turning back now. Hi, this is my review of the 2010 horror movie called The Pack, which I believe is from France, and in France it's called MEUTE or something like that. It was made in 2010, and let me first off give you my opinion on it. I thought this was a very average horror movie. There were a few parts that were a little bit above average, but overall I'd give it like a C rating. It's very average, which is it's actually kind of weird in its qualities, is in that I wouldn't say it's bad enough to be direct to DVD, but it's not good enough to go to theaters either. Yeah, it's very routine, which is weird because I've seen a lot of horror movies out of France, and usually they make really good horror movies, but this one just wasn't very good. I mean, let's put it this way. I would say that the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake, the one, the first remake, not the 2013 remake, but the other one, was actually better than this movie, which is kind of sad, considering that, like I said, France usually makes really good horror movies. I'm going to get into some spoilers here, so I guess deal with it. Basically, it's about this young girl, probably in her 20s, driving across the country, I believe in France, and when she's driving, she passes some rowdy bikers that kind of, have catcalls towards her, and because of this, she gets kind of nervous, and she picks up a hitchhiker, which is just like a rather thin, normal-looking guy who's just hitchhiking. Looks kind of like a hippie, kind of French hippie a little. Doesn't have a beard though. And he seems like a nice guy. They get to talking, and then they stop at this saloon. And when they stop at this saloon, which is just like this bar or something, there's just like a weird scene, with this girl running around in bubble wrap, wrapped in this huge roll of bubble wrap, and she just hits a pole and falls down, and she's just unconscious. And then the girl and the hitchhiker see her, and then they just go into the saloon, which is just weird. Like, I don't get that. Can someone explain to me that little segment right there? I didn't get it. But anyway, so they go into the saloon, they sit down, and then, the bikers go to the saloon, too, and they, try to grab the girl and stuff like that, and then they get in a fight with the hitchhiker, because the hitchhiker actually tries to defend the girl, and then the bikers almost beat him up, and then, the owner of the saloon, which is this old lady, pulls a shotgun out and is like, "Get out of here, you troublemakers," and then they leave. The bikers leave, and before the hitchhiker and the girl leave, the hitchhiker's like, "I gotta go to the bathroom," so he goes in the bathroom. And so the girl's waiting, and the hitchhiker never comes out. And she goes into the bathroom after him, and she can't find him. But she sees, this wall that she knows there's a room back there, but she can't open the door to get to the room. And she's like, that's weird. She comes out, and she asks the lady at the bar who pulled the shotgun, "I came in with a friend. Did you see where he went?" And the lady with the shotgun's like, "Well, he probably just took off without you. It won't be the first time a guy left a woman." And then the girl's like, "Well, there's a back room, do you ever go back there?" And she's like, "No, never open it." So the girl goes out to her car, and then this detective guy, who's this old detective guy, he's an old man, he comes to the saloon and tries to get in, and the old lady's like, "No, it's shut down for cleaning." And the detective's guy, "Okay, I'll come back again." And when he's outside, and the girl's outside too, the girl just tells the detective guy about this weird thing. She's like, "I came with this hitchhiker guy, and he disappeared, and I don't know where he went." And so the detective guy takes her name and number, and he's like, "Well, if I see anything, I'll call you." Now, so you'd think that the girl would just go about her merry way, because she didn't even really know this guy very well, but she doesn't. She actually sticks around until nightfall and sneaks into the bar and breaks into the back room, and the old lady like sees her and knocks her out, and she's taken to the old lady's farm and locked up in this cage with all these other people. And as it turns out, the hitchhiker she was with is actually the old lady's son, and which is weird. Like, and so they capture her, and they got this. The old lady and her son have got this weird like situation going, where there's like these people that live underground, and they look like your typical like horror movie zombies. Very generic. Like these are like generic horror movie zombies, and basically they like feed the zombies or something. The zombies do nothing to them. So basically, the girl tries to escape, and she doesn't. So the old lady's like, well, we're gonna hang you up tonight. So when they they come out and feed, they'll feed on you. Well, they hang up her and like this other guy, and the zombies like rip the guy apart and eat him, but they don't do anything to the girl, which I thought was rather weird. And then the old detective guy actually comes back to the saloon and inquires about the girl. He says, she was. I tried, and he actually tried to call the girl, but he couldn't reach her. And he goes to the bar and he asks around about her, and the hitchhiker guy who's now running the bar says, I haven't seen her, and then the detective's guy like, okay, whatever, and he goes outside and he's peeing, somewhere on the side of the road, and he actually finds the girl's car, covered by a tarp near the saloon, and so he's like, something must be up, and so he actually goes to the farm of the old woman and starts asking her questions, and the old woman's like, well, you want to come inside and have a cup of coffee? And at this point you're like, oh my god, yeah, it's coming, she's gonna take him out. And what happens is she pours him some coffee, and he drinks it, and he passes out, and she wheelbarrows him to the cage. And she's about to put him into the cage when the guy, the detective, knocks her out. And it's revealed in the flashback that the detective is actually smarter than he looks. He actually didn't drink the coffee, he actually poured it away, and then he faked that he passed out. Which, I don't know how he guessed that there'd be poison in there. I mean, I'm sure he knew there was something weird with the lady, but I don't know how he guessed she'd do that to him. But, so he puts her in the cage, he knocks her out, puts her in the cage, and frees the girl. And the girl, like, is so pissed off that she shoots the old lady who's in the cage. And then the hitchhiker comes in, and they for some reason they actually start trusting the hitchhiker, which is weird because they just shot his mom. But but they completely start trusting him, and the girl runs away with the hitchhiker to get away from the farm. And the old detective guy gets like killed by the old lady because she actually wasn't dead. It turns out she wears chainmail, which I didn't know that chainmail would stop a shotgun, but whatever. And then they run to the hitchhiker and the young girl run to this cabin that I believe the hitchhiker and his mom owned, and the bikers are actually shacking up there. They're just fooling around, and in a nutshell, it becomes like they board themselves up in the shack, and they get some guns, and the old lady like pretty much unleashes all the zombies on them. And so at this point, up to this point, it actually hadn't been very gory. At this point, it pretty much becomes rather gory. Not really gory. There's a few moments in it. I could probably count on my one hand the amount of gore shots in this movie. And basically everyone ends up getting killed by the zombies, except the girl who runs away. But she like gets caught in some sort of tripwire or something, and the zombies end up like they catch up to her, and then string her up upside down. They eat one of her legs and then string her up upside down, and then the movie ends. And I skipped a lot of stuff. I actually probably don't remember a lot of it because this was just so forgettable. Yeah, it was just so forgettable. This is probably like the most mediocre horror movie from France I've ever seen. You know, um, yeah, it's just really forgettable. I would say it's not a bad movie. It had good production values. The actors were okay. Um, but yeah, it's just really forgettable. Like, um, I believe it has like a 4.8 on Internet Movie Database, and judging on what some of the scores are for other horror movies, I'd say that's about right. Um, yeah, just very generic, not impressed. I mean, I'm sorry if you liked this movie, but it was just not good. It was just very underwhelming, especially when there are so many good French horror movies out there. So yeah, I guess you could do worse, but not a shining gem. So take it easy. Bye.